My brother's words burned through me like acid poured directly into an open wound. You're a useless dropout. You'll never be anything. You're a burden, not a brother. Even now, years later, I can still hear the exact tone, the mocking chuckle under his breath, the judgment dripping from every syllable, the certainty in his voice, like he had already written my entire life story and sealed it shut. I remember gripping the edge of the kitchen counter so hard my fingers went numb, the cold marble biting into my palms. My heart pounded against my ribs so violently that for a moment I thought I might actually pass out. It was supposed to be a family dinner. Just a quiet evening at home. The smell of roasted chicken and spices lingered in the air. Candles flickered on the dining table. Soft music played in the background. Everything perfectly set for peace. But peace had never lasted long in our house. Not with Daniel in the room. Daniel, the golden son, the one who never failed. He walked like he owned the world and talked like everyone else was lucky just to orbit around him. He had graduated top of his class, gone to Harvard, and landed a corporate finance job straight out of school. Every time he walked into a room, people noticed. He had that polished confidence that made others want to impress him, to earn his approval. And he loved it, the pedestal, the attention, the adoration. And then there was me, the disappointment, at least in his eyes. The one who walked away from college with nothing but a vague dream and an idea nobody understood. In a family where success equaled measurable achievements, test scores, salaries, and prestigious institutions, I was a stain on the carefully curated image. Daniel made sure I never forgot it. That evening when he delivered that line, "You're a useless dropout," he said it casually, like it was simply a fact of nature, like gravity. Like the setting sun, unquestionable, our parents sat frozen, eyes wide, unsure how to respond. My mother's fork slipped from her hand and clattered against the plate. My father pressed his lips together, the muscles in his jaw tightening. But neither of them said anything. They never did. Confrontation wasn't their language. Silence was. The burning humiliation rushed up my throat. My pulse roared in my ears. I clenched my jaw so tightly I felt it crack. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to run out of the room. Anger, embarrassment, and heartbreak clashed violently inside me, but I swallowed it all. I would not give him the satisfaction of watching me explode. Instead, I said quietly, "You don't know anything about what I'm building." Daniel leaned back in his chair, his expensive watch glinting beneath the lights, and smirked. "Oh, you mean that little project?" His voice curled around each word with venomous amusement. "That thing you waste all day on in the basement like a child playing pretend?" The basement. That word alone sent a sharp stab through me. That cold, damp space with no windows had become my battlefield, my laboratory, my war zone. It was where I spent 18 hours a day writing code until my eyes stung and my hands trembled. It was where I slept on an air mattress that deflated every few days and left me lying on the concrete. It was where I kept dozens of notebooks filled with diagrams and plans, crossed out mistakes, and desperate attempts to solve problems that seemed impossible. But to him, it was nothing. I was nothing. I felt my throat tighten painfully. "You'll see," I whispered, almost too quietly for anyone to hear. Daniel laughed, loud, arrogant, sharp. It cut straight through me. "No, man, I won't, because there's nothing to see. You're chasing a fantasy, and everyone here knows it. It's embarrassing already. Do us all a favor and stop pretending." I looked up then, straight into his eyes. I forced myself not to blink. My voice shook, but I steadied it with every ounce of strength I had left. "Give me 6 months." The entire table fell silent. Even the music in the background seemed to fade. Daniel raised an eyebrow, amused. 6 months for what? To pack your bags and move out? Because trust me, we'd all appreciate that. "No," I said. 6 months for me to prove you wrong." He stared at me like I was a joke he'd already heard too many times. His lips curled into a slow, condescending smile. "All right, sure, 6 months. And what? If by some miracle you aren't still living in Dad's basement and pretending you're the next Zuckerberg, you want me to apologize?" "Yes," I said. "A real apology." "In front of everyone?" He laughed again, shaking his head. "Deal? Hell, I'll do more than apologize. If you pull it off, I'll work for you." But we both know that isn't happening. Deal, I said, quietly but clearly. My voice didn't feel like mine. It was like someone else had spoken through me, someone stronger, someone who refused to break anymore. Daniel tapped the table twice, sealing the verbal contract, then returned to his food with the satisfied grin of someone who believed he'd already won. But in that moment, something inside me shifted, something deep and unbreakable. I felt heat surge through my veins, not the burning shame from before, but something sharper. Focus, determination, fire, 6 months, 6 months to change everything. 6 months to tear down every belief he held about me. 6 months to rewrite the story he thought was already finished. From that night on, I became a different person. The very next morning, I woke up before the sun, my breath fogging in the cold basement air. The concrete under my feet felt rough and freezing, grounding me in reality. My whole body ached from lack of sleep, from hunching over the keyboard for endless hours, but pain was irrelevant now. Pain was fuel. I wrote code until my fingers went numb. I restructured the entire architecture of the software from scratch. Every obstacle became a puzzle instead of a wall. I pitched to investor after investor, sometimes 10 in a day, getting rejected so many times I stopped counting after 120. Some laughed, some shrugged, some said I was dreaming too big. Some said the idea was impossible. Every rejection was another log thrown onto the fire inside me. There were nights when exhaustion wrapped around me like a vice, squeezing until my vision blurred and my head dropped onto the desk without warning. Sometimes I woke up with keyboard marks pressed into my forehead. Sometimes my hands trembled so violently I couldn't hold a pen. My back spasmed, my eyes burned, my head throbbed like someone was drilling into my skull. But I didn't stop. Not for a single day. Because every time I closed my eyes, I saw Daniel's face, heard his voice, felt the humiliation slice through me again. That pain sharpened me like steel against stone. It turned fear into fuel. It turned doubt into discipline. Weeks went by. The prototype improved. The user interface evolved. The platform became smoother, faster, more powerful. What had been a shaky idea started to look like something real, something solid, something world-changing. But success never arrives gently. It tests you first. 2 months in, my first beta launch crashed. A bug wiped out an entire test database. I lost 300 potential users in a single night. People posted angry comments calling it worthless, broken, a joke. And when I read those messages at 3 in the morning, something inside me cracked. I punched the wall so hard my knuckles split open. Blood smeared across the drywall like angry red brushstrokes. I slid down to the floor, pressing my forehead against my knees, and for the first time since that dinner, I felt tears burning behind my eyes. I whispered into the darkness, maybe he was right. The words tasted like poison. I sat there shaking, staring at my busted hands, listening to the silence press against my skull. I could feel the edge of collapse, that terrifying moment where everything you've built threatens to crumble beneath you. The temptation to quit whispered in my ear like a seduction. But then, like a thunderclap, I remembered Daniel's voice. You'll never be anything. I remembered the smirk, the laughter, the humiliation, and something snapped back into place. I stood up, wiped my face, taped my fingers, and went straight back to my desk. I worked until the sun rose, until the bug was fixed, until the system ran faster than it ever had. I didn't sleep for 3 straight days. But when I finally watched the platform run flawlessly on live servers, a surge of electricity shot through my body so intensely I felt it in my teeth. That was the moment I knew, not believed, knew that I would win. At 4 months, a small angel investor offered $50,000. It wasn't much, but it was oxygen. I upgraded equipment. I hired 2 freelancers to handle UI design and marketing material. I built a clean landing page, polished every pixel, rewrote every line of copy until it punched like poetry. And then something extraordinary happened. A major investor contacted me after reviewing the demo. We scheduled a video call. I remember sitting there staring at the monitor, palms sweating, heart hammering so violently I thought it might burst. My hair was messy, my shirt wrinkled, dark circles bruised the skin beneath my eyes. But when I started speaking, everything changed. I felt powerful. Clarity flowed through me like a river. Every word landed with force. Every slide built momentum. For the first time, someone wasn't doubting me. They were leaning forward, eyes wide, taking notes. Your concept has enormous potential, the investor said. We're interested in leading a seed round. $6 million, contingent on the public launch. I froze. I couldn't breathe. I thought I had misheard. 6 million? Yes, we see something unique in what you've built. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My body was buzzing, shaking, overwhelmed. When the call ended, I stared at the blank computer screen, and then the tears came. Not weak tears, not broken tears, but heavy, overwhelming tears, the kind that come when the weight you've carried alone for so long finally cracks open. I dropped to my knees on the concrete floor and sobbed into my hands, my entire body shaking. Years of humiliation, fear, rejection, exhaustion, all pouring out. Relief and disbelief mixed inside me until I couldn't tell one from the other. I whispered, I did it. I actually did it, but that was only the beginning. Within the next 2 months, we onboarded over 42,000 businesses. The numbers skyrocketed. News articles started circulating. My inbox exploded with partnership requests. Investors called daily. Analysts wrote features describing the platform as revolutionary, disruptive, the next massive tech wave, and exactly 6 months to the day, the company valuation updated officially, $99,400,000, $99.4 million. I sat alone in the basement staring at the number on my laptop screen, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. I covered my mouth as a laugh, wild, disbelieving, euphoric, escaped me. Not loud, just a breathless, stunned sound, the sound of someone who has crawled through hell and emerged standing. Then I remembered his voice again. 6 months. Time for payback.